Not every threat to your peace shows up with hostility. Sometimes the most damaging people in your life are the ones who greet you with a smile, offer support in public, and quietly undermine you in private. These aren't enemies. They're something far more dangerous: frenemies. The kind who act like allies, but move like saboteurs. They leave you doubting your instincts, second-guessing your worth, and drained in ways you can't explain. This isn't about petty drama or insecure friendships. It's about a subtle form of betrayal that can go undetected for years while it slowly chips away at your confidence and clarity. Frenemies don't just want to be around you. They want to stay close enough to copy your strengths and celebrate your failures. And if you don't recognize them in time, they'll block your growth, hijack your peace, and make you feel guilty for protecting yourself. In this video, we'll break down 5 powerful signs that you're dealing with a frenemy. Not vague red flags, but clear psychological patterns that Stoic thinkers and modern psychologists alike would tell you to watch for. Because your peace of mind isn't something to negotiate. It's something to guard, with wisdom, with clarity, and sometimes with distance. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling small, confused, or secretly judged by someone who claims to care, you're not overreacting. You're seeing the truth, and it's time to stop second-guessing it. So get comfortable, open your mind, and let's uncover the truth together. And if this resonates, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your story in the comments. Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to finally walk away from the mask behind the smile. 1. Understanding frenemies. Sometimes the deepest wounds don't come from confrontation, but from confusion. Not from those who openly oppose you, but from those who pretend to stand beside you. Frenemies are not just difficult people. They are performers. They present themselves as allies, while quietly undermining your confidence when it matters most. Their power lies in subtlety. And that's exactly what makes them dangerous. You think they're cheering for you, but their encouragement only lasts when no one else is watching. In private, they inflate your confidence with praise. In public, they pull the rug out from under you with dismissive remarks or carefully worded doubts. You might propose an idea, and they'll say, "That's great," in private. But in front of others, they'll casually say, "It's an option, but maybe not the best one." And suddenly, you're left standing there uncertain, while they appear reasonable and calm. This behavior isn't random. It's deliberate. It's a slow erosion of your self-trust. Over time, you start looking to them for feedback instead of trusting your own instincts. This is how manipulation works, not through explosive arguments, but through quiet, consistent control. One comment at a time, one backhanded compliment, one raised eyebrow that makes you shrink just a little. And when you finally speak up, they say, "I was just being honest," or "You're reading too much into it." That's not clarity. That's emotional gaslighting. Psychologists often refer to this as covert hostility, a pattern where the manipulator creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, where the target questions their own perception of reality. It's like walking into a room filled with fog. You can breathe, but you can't see clearly. You function, but never with full confidence. Let's put it into context. Imagine you're working closely with someone on a shared project. Behind closed doors, they're supportive and engaged. But in a group setting, they subtly reframe the narrative, questioning your decisions or painting you as impulsive. You walk away from these encounters drained, embarrassed, even ashamed, and unsure why. This is the classic frenemy dynamic, calculated inconsistency designed to destabilize you. Their goal isn't collaboration, it's control, The more you rely on their approval, the easier it is for them to maintain the upper hand. That's why their praise always feels conditional, and their criticism always arrives at the moment it can do the most harm. The Stoics understood these dynamics centuries ago. Epictetus taught that no one can damage your mind without your participation. Recognizing manipulation is the first step to ending it. You don't need to retaliate or fall into emotional traps. You need to observe, detach, decide who is worthy of your trust and who is simply pretending. Being stoic doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or enduring emotional harm in silence. It means standing firm in your values and protecting your peace from those who try to exploit your openness. It means watching what people do, not just what they say. And when someone shows you a pattern of double-faced behavior, believe it the first time. Sometimes that means keeping your distance. Sometimes it means walking away completely. Not out of cruelty, but out of clarity. The kind of clarity that says, I will no longer allow someone to shrink me in order to feel bigger themselves. True friends are consistent. Their support doesn't vanish in a crowd. Their praise isn't a performance. They want you to rise even if your success has nothing to do with them. That's how you know the difference. Letting go of a toxic connection isn't failure. It's freedom. Because once you stop seeking validation from someone who only lifts you up to push you down later, you create space for real connection rooted in honesty, strength, and mutual respect. And that, according to Stoic philosophy, is the foundation of a peaceful life. Not the absence of hardship, but the presence of discernment. Not controlling others, but mastering yourself. 2. Competitive undermining. Some of the most corrosive forms of sabotage don't come from your enemies. They come from the people who clap when you win, but grit their teeth behind the applause. At first glance, they seem supportive. They ask about your goals, listen attentively, even offer advice. But beneath that surface lies a quiet agenda to keep you from rising too far too fast. Not because you're unworthy, because your success makes them feel inadequate. This is the essence of competitive undermining. It's not friendly rivalry. It's disguised insecurity, dressed up as guidance. And when it comes from someone you trust, it can be devastating. Think about a moment when you were about to take a leap, maybe going after a long-awaited opportunity, or stepping into a leadership role. You shared your excitement with someone you thought was in your corner. But instead of lifting you higher, they planted seeds of doubt. Are you sure you're ready? They ask. Or, it's probably going to be political. You might want to wait. And suddenly, your confidence wavers. What you don't realize is that their concern isn't really about your readiness. It's about their discomfort with your growth. These tactics aren't random. They're calculated. And they don't just show up in conversation, they show up in action. In joint projects, they may subtly shift blame your way. In collaborative efforts, they might withhold key information or offer last-minute critiques that derail your momentum. They do just enough to destabilize you while maintaining the appearance of being helpful. Even more telling is how they react when you finally succeed. A real friend would celebrate with sincerity, but a frenemy will downplay your win. They'll compare it to something bigger, something more important, or suggest you had it easier than others. It's never just congratulations. There's always a but, and every one of those buts chips away at your joy. This kind of dynamic is hard to detect at first. Each individual moment seems minor. One awkward comment, one subtle jab. But over time, they form a pattern, one designed to make you question yourself and rely on them for validation. That's the trap. The more you second-guess your instincts, the more power they gain over your choices. Stoic philosophy teaches us to see through these games without becoming bitter or reactive. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that while we don't control others' behavior, we always control our response. The first step is awareness. That sinking feeling you get when someone dims your excitement. That's not just anxiety. That's insight. Trust it. Once you recognize the pattern, protect yourself. Share less. Don't reveal every plan or hope to someone who has repeatedly dampened your spirit. You're not being paranoid. You're being wise. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your growth. Next, reclaim your choices. If someone's advice makes you hesitate, pause and ask yourself, is this fear talking or truth? Is this feedback helping me grow or keeping me small? You don't owe anyone an apology for aiming higher, especially not those who are quietly hoping you'll fail so they won't feel left behind. Finally, strengthen your boundaries. You don't need to announce them, just live them. When someone proves they can't celebrate your wins without making it about themselves, take that information seriously. You can be kind and respectful without being emotionally exposed. You can support others without allowing their envy to shape your path. Here's the hard truth. Frenemies don't try to weaken you because you're weak. They do it because they sense your strength. Because your potential makes them confront their own lack of drive. And that's not your burden to carry. Real friends elevate you. They push you to rise and take joy in your progress. They don't compete with your light. They shine with you. If someone keeps pulling you back, ask yourself, are they really trying to help or trying to make sure you never get too far ahead? As we move into the next section, we'll explore another manipulation tactic, support with strings attached. It's the kind of help that feels more like a trap than a gift, because it binds you in obligation and leaves you emotionally drained. Watch closely. The patterns are subtle, but once you see them, you'll never unsee them again. 3. Conditional support. Have you ever had someone show up for your victories, but vanish in your struggles? If so, you may have experienced one of the most subtle and damaging forms of manipulation, conditional support. Unlike true friendship, which offers consistency and compassion regardless of circumstances, conditional support disguises self-interest as care. It's not loyalty, it's leverage. Let's break it down. Real friends don't treat your pain as inconvenient. They don't measure how much support to give based on what they'll get back. But frenemies operate under a different code. Their presence is selective. Their kindness is strategic. And their help is never truly free. It's an unspoken contract designed to keep you indebted and off balance. Take, for example, a woman I once worked with. Let's call her Maya. For years, she believed her closest friend Angela was her rock. Angela helped plan birthdays shared in celebrations and was always quick to tag along to social events where Maya shined. But Maya started to notice something strange in her lowest moments. Angela was nowhere to be found. When Maya's relationship ended, when she was overwhelmed with grief over losing her mother, Angela offered silence, not solace. But the moment Maya landed a promotion or was featured in a magazine article, Angela resurfaced full of compliments and ready for the spotlight. At first, Maya wrote it off as coincidence. But the pattern was clear. Angela's attention was never about being there. It was about being seen. She used Maya's achievements to boost her own image, yet avoided discomfort or vulnerability that wouldn't serve her interests. When Maya tried to address the imbalance, Angela responded with guilt-laced reminders of favors from the past. Remember who was there when you moved. What about all the times I cheered you on? These statements weren't about love. They were about control. This is how conditional support works. It gives just enough to look generous, but takes far more in return. You begin to feel like you owe them for every moment of kindness. And soon, you're not setting boundaries. You're managing their reactions. You say yes when you want to say no. You stay silent to avoid their withdrawal. And slowly, your world begins to orbit their approval. But Stoic wisdom reminds us that love should never be transactional. True support does not require debt. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us that to be alive, to think, to feel, to love is a privilege, not a performance. No one should have to earn support by staying small, agreeable, or useful. If someone treats compassion as a commodity, they're not acting out of care. They're manipulating access. The trap is that this behavior doesn't always look toxic on the surface. It often appears polished, polite, even generous. But if your gut tells you that someone's support comes with a hidden cost, listen. Patterns don't lie. If a person shows up only when it benefits them and disappears when it doesn't, you are not in a mutual relationship. You're in a power imbalance. So how do you protect yourself? First, see the pattern for what it is. Don't excuse repeated absence as bad timing. People make time for what matters to them. If someone vanishes in your pain, but shows up to stand in your spotlight, they're not truly there for you. They're there for the benefits of proximity. Second, stop managing their emotions. You do not have to tiptoe around someone who uses guilt as a leash. You don't need to prove your loyalty just because they once did you a favor. Respect isn't a debt. And real friendships don't keep ledgers. Third, reset the terms of the relationship. You don't have to cut them off completely, but you do have the right to draw clear lines. Limit what you share. Limit what you invite them into. Emotional access is a privilege, not an entitlement. If someone can't walk with you through the valley, they don't get to stand beside you on the mountain. Lastly, and most importantly, turn inward. Stoic philosophy teaches us to build an inner strength so solid that we are no longer swayed by external approval or performative affection. When you learn to validate yourself, you become less vulnerable to those who try to buy your loyalty with shallow support. You become whole, independent, free. Recognizing conditional support doesn't make you cold, it makes you conscious. It means you've stopped allowing others to define the terms of your worth. It means you've chosen truth over illusion. And in doing so, you create space for real connection, one built on mutual respect, not manipulation. As we move to the next sign, we'll explore something even more painful: when someone gathers your secrets not to protect them, but to use them against you. Weaponized information is one of the most violating forms of betrayal, and seeing it early can save you years of emotional harm. 4. Celebration sabotage. Picture this: you finally achieve something meaningful. Maybe you've secured a long-awaited promotion, recovered from a health scare, or hit a personal milestone that you've worked toward for years. Naturally, your heart swells with pride, and your first instinct is to share the news with those closest to you. Not to boast, but to celebrate, to include them in your joy, and to feel that your success is seen and supported. But when you tell a frenemy, something unexpected happens. There's no spark in their eyes, no shared excitement. Instead, you're met with indifference, passive criticism, or a change of subject. You say you got your dream apartment, and they respond with concerns about traffic or crime rates in the area. You share your latest creative project, and they immediately offer a backhanded compliment or compare it to someone else's work, implying yours doesn't measure up. This isn't bad timing or social awkwardness. It's intentional. A covert tactic designed to take the wind out of your sails because your success disrupts the emotional balance they've tried to maintain. Frenemies thrive when you're uncertain, hesitant, or stuck. But when you rise, they feel exposed. Your growth highlights their stagnation, and instead of confronting that truth within themselves, they try to shrink your moment so it feels less significant. I once worked with a man named Aaron who had just published his first book. After years of drafts and rejection letters, he had finally done it. He told his longtime friend about the launch, expecting a celebratory response. Instead, the friend shrugged and said, "Well, everyone's self-publishing these days. That's not the same as getting a real deal." In one sentence, Aaron went from proud to deflated. That is celebration sabotage in action. Psychologists often refer to this pattern as emotional invalidation, a subtle but powerful way to undermine a person's inner reality. In this case, it's not just invalidation, it's joy suppression. When someone consistently meets your good news with detachment, skepticism, or superiority, they're not just failing to support you. They're robbing you of the emotional completion that comes with celebration. We don't just experience milestones through action, we process them through acknowledgement. We reinforce our growth when someone reflects it back to us with genuine pride. But if every win is met with critique or comparison over time, you begin to internalize a lie that maybe your progress isn't worth celebrating after all. Eventually, you may start editing yourself, sharing less, downplaying your success to make others more comfortable, offering disclaimers before good news, and ultimately, choosing silence over the risk of being made to feel arrogant or too much. But here's the truth. Your success is not a burden to carry around quietly. It's not something you need to apologize for. The Stoics taught us to remain internally anchored, to recognize that others' discomfort does not belong to us. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Often the sting of celebration sabotage isn't in the words themselves, but in how we allow those words to shape our pride, our momentum, our belief in what we've earned. You can't change a frenemy's response to your growth, but you can protect your joy from their influence. If someone has shown you time and again that they can't celebrate without diminishing, downplaying, or redirecting your success, take that as the truth they're revealing. It may not be malicious on the surface, but it's not harmless either. Instead, share your wins with people who lift you up without hesitation. Those who cheer for you, even when there's nothing in it for them. The ones who believe there's room for everyone at the table and know that your light doesn't dim theirs. And if you can't remove the frenemy from your life due to shared responsibilities or social circles, manage the relationship with precision. Don't offer your golden moments to someone who will only tarnish them. Don't invite them into the most meaningful celebrations if they've proven incapable of joy on your behalf. That's not cruelty, that's discernment. Also, take a moment for honest self-inquiry. Are there times when you struggle to celebrate others? Do you feel that impulse to add a disclaimer, to subtly one-up, to critique when someone shares their happiness? We all wrestle with ego, but recognizing the impulse and choosing not to act on it is what separates a true friend from someone who wounds without realizing. Healthy relationships allow joy to flow freely. Real friends make space for your radiance. They don't ration their happiness based on whether they're winning too. They understand that celebration isn't a contest, it's a connection. So when you see someone dull, your joy, believe them. And more importantly, believe in yourself. You have every right to be proud, to feel seen, to honor the effort it took to get here. As we close this chapter on identifying frenemies, remember this spotting. These patterns isn't about becoming cynical. It's about becoming clear. In the next section, we'll explore how to set real, lasting boundaries that protect your energy and reinforce your emotional freedom, so you can keep growing without permission and thriving without apology. If you've ever found yourself shrinking your joy, second-guessing your wins, or staying silent to keep someone else comfortable, you're not alone, and you're not imagining it. What you're experiencing is real, and calling it out is the first step toward reclaiming your peace. When someone you trust makes you question your worth, it's not overreaction. It's awakening, and it takes real strength to face that truth. But awareness is power. The moment you see the pattern, you no longer have to play along. You don't need to sacrifice your sanity for the sake of keeping the peace. You can choose to prioritize your clarity, your energy, your self-respect. As the Stoics remind us, you can't control the actions of others, but you can control who you give your time, trust, and presence to. Starting now, give yourself permission to stop entertaining people who chip away at your joy. Stand firm with those who honor your presence and cheer your progress. That's not cruelty. It's wisdom. It's emotional freedom. You deserve relationships where you're allowed to grow without guilt, to succeed without shame, and to ask for support without owing a favor in return. Never let anyone's insecurity dictate the size of your light. If this video helped you see things more clearly, don't leave quietly. Like the video, subscribe for more insights rooted in Stoic strength, and share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Tell me in the comments what resonated most with you. Let's have the honest conversation, because your future peace begins with the boundaries you choose right now.